Hey everyone, Airball here, and welcome to another MTG Arena video. Today we are getting into some Historic for the first time in a while. I haven't played this format in a little bit. We've been mostly focused on Alchemy here because that's what the tournaments have been on. But we just went through the most recent wave of bans and nerfs and rebalances, and we have a whopper here. Welcome back to Te4ri Time Raveler. He's put on a little weight. He's not the same Te4ri that you remember from before. But he has returned nevertheless, and he still has a lot of the same qualities that made us love him or hate him in the first place. So Te4ri Time Raveler, of course, used to be a 3-mana Planeswalker instead of 4. He's a little more expensive than he used to be. The static ability is a little different. The static ability now says what it should have said all along, which is that your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. That's a pretty good nerf, because it used to be that opponents could only cast spells every time they could cast a sorcery, which incidentally turned off a bunch of cool effects in the format, like Emergent Ultimatum, Dreadhorde Arcanist, Finale of Promise, any cards that would let you cast spells for free. Generally speaking, Te4ri would turn off, and I don't think that was intended, and it was brutal to play against. So this version of the static is much more fair. And so the rest of the Planeswalker is exactly the same as it used to be. You can still draw step thought erasure your opponent with the +1, and you can still get the same tempo play that you used to when he was in Standard, and that you currently enjoy in Modern by bouncing anything essentially to the opponent's hand and drawing a card off of it. So he really does slow things down. But 4 mana bounce a thing, draw a card is not what it used to be. And it's probably not good enough by itself in Historic unless you can find the right shell for it. So this Jeskai list is an attempt to find that shell. So Jeskai Control, of course, has been a major player in Historic for the last several months. It's on the back of several powerful spells. Of course, Te4ri himself, big 5-mana Te4ri, Hero of Dominaria, needs no introduction. Narset, of course, one of the best Planeswalkers printed in recent memory. 4 copies of Archmage's Charm, which is just an incredibly flexible card, can be used in almost any matchup. And of course, Lightning Helix is a major player as well, holding off the aggro decks and getting your life total high enough to cast your big spells. So why is Te4ri good in this deck? Well, Te4ri himself is not super important, except in as much as he clears the way for your later spells. So one of the things this deck does want to be able to do, is to slam this Te4ri 5 on turn 5 or turn 6 or something like that. And if you slam Te4ri, then either the opponent lets it resolve, and he lives through to your next turn, and you can cast Te4ri without fear of him being countered, because the opponents can't counter your spells if you cast them on your turn. So he's good at dealing with your proactive plan. And if the opponent counters Te4ri, well, that's one less counter that they have for Te4ri's bigger brother, the Hero of Dominaria. So the deck is a bit of a kludge. We do have a bunch of different stuff to deal with a bunch of different matchups. So obviously Portable Hole, pretty good against humans, not very good against control. Lightning Helix, pretty good against creature decks, not very good against control. And you've got Memory Deluge, which is kind of slow against creatures, but pretty good against control. Shark Typhoon, pretty slow against creatures, pretty good against control, and so on. So you do run into the issue of what happens if you draw the wrong side of your deck. But there are a lot of one-ofs, and I think that's justified because this deck does draw a fair amount of cards. We get to look pretty deep for the right answers when we cast Narset. We get to look pretty deep when we cast Memory Deluge. We draw cards off Te4ri. We can dig with Shark Typhoon. We can try to make sure that we have the right cards in the right situations. And also to deal with the matchup problem, which control decks universally face, we have a pretty stacked sideboard as well. Like, these are some heavy hitters in the sideboard. We have Unholy Heat, which is one of the best removal spells in the format. If you can enable Delirium, then it does 6 damage to almost anything. And we do run a bunch of different card types in the deck, particularly if we bring in Grafdigger's Cage and the opponent deals with it somehow. Grafdigger's Cage, of course, great against all the graveyard decks in the format. Same with Rest in Peace. And this hits control and aggro alike. There are creature decks, of course, the Lurrus decks that recur value from their graveyards. And there's also the other Jeskai decks that run things like Mizzix Mastery, Magma Opus, which we are not doing because we want to have... we get enough value out of our other stuff as it is. 4 copies Mystical Dispute, obviously very good in the control matchup, very bad in everywhere else. 2 copies Dovin's Veto, similar thing. And then we have a bunch of board wipes as well. We have an extra copy, the 3rd copy of Divine Purge, which is just an obscene Magic card. Like, this card is insane. Exile all creatures and artifacts with mana value 3 or less. They do get to replay them, so it's not card advantage as such in the sense that your traditional board wipes are, but This deck does have a proactive plan. It's a control deck, so most of the time when you're playing Draw Go, you don't think of yourself as having a proactive plan. But if you can get your Planeswalkers in play, get value every turn, and the opponent can't attack them down, then pretty soon you're going to win the game. And it doesn't matter if they replay their stuff because you'll be drawing your real board wipes later on. Speaking of real board wipes, got 3 copies of Wrath of God in the main, 1 extra copy of Anger of the Gods in addition to 1 in the main to deal with the explosive starts from the creature decks. Sometimes you just need that board wipe on turn 3. 1 copy of Settle the Wreckage, which can hit some stuff at instant speed that, like creature lands, that the other board wipes are not particularly good at hitting, and 2 copies, the other 2 copies of the playset of Shark Typhoon for the control matchup as well. Some utility lands, not many. We just have 1 copy of Castle Ardenvale, which is great in the control matchup. Can be fine in creature matchups if you're both top decking. Castle Vantress, one of... I don't find myself using this one super often, but the cost to include it in the deck is kind of low. And Hall of the Storm Giants as well. Just a good way to break mirrors, to stuff opponents' creatures so they can't attack. Then you go to their end step and you use the mana for something else instead. Mana base is pretty good. I'm interested to see how this deck does, and I really can't wait to play Te4ri again. I missed him terribly. So let's jump into some matches and see how the deck does. Okay, on the play with a 1-lander. We'll send that back. This is reasonable. I think we'll keep this, and we're supposed to put back one of these. It's got to be the Hollowed Fountain, right? I want to keep the double red in case we draw Anger of the Gods against a creature deck. Historic seems to be very creaturey, very Thoughtseize-y. As I say that, opponent plays Island. Just basic Island Go, so these 2 are probably not great. No, maybe not. Maybe we're up against Phoenix or something here. Opponent playing Opt to the top. Let's see what they do. It's Izzet. Okay. So Archmage's Charm, a reasonable draw against Izzet. I think we're just holding on to this. Some consideration to just casting it on end step to draw cards. But not knowing what my opponent is doing yet, I think I'll hold on to it, especially when we have our land drop ready to make. So in this format, this is post nerf. So the Hullbreaker Horrors in Historic are counterable. And I think we're inclined to just portable Hull the Sprite Dragon next turn. If that's the case, we'll also be able to hold up Archmage's Charm, cast it on end step, and then hopefully cast Te4ri the next turn. I think this is okay. I think we'll have some patience here. Opponent held a spell there rather than pump their Sprite Dragon for an extra point of damage. We know they had something because they had priority. Divine Purge seems pretty reasonable against this deck now that I see it. I think now I'll take the opportunity to resolve this and draw my cards so I can hopefully land a Te4ri. Okay, well, we definitely want to hit our land drop, so I'm glad we did that. We would have whiffed. How close are they to Delirium? They just have instant and sorcery. Alright, we're going to take the opportunity here to jam Te4ri. And we can Lightning Helix the Darcy before it flips. And I don't want them to counter this. I want Te4ri to be on the board unmolested for as long as possible. Obviously, they could just like jam a Phoenix or something this turn, but Te4ri will still live through that, and we'll have Wrath and lots of good stuff available. Another Sprite Dragon, sure. So that even gets Divine Purge, which is pretty nice. They could have like Unholy Heat, I guess, which would still not kill Te4ri. Bolt. So Te4ri will go to 1. Start with a plus. Narset is just so good against them. I think that's the play. I think we're going to lead with Narset. Do we minus her? I think the answer is It's tough, right? Because if they enable Delirium, then they can just kill her with Unholy Heat, which saves them from a lot. I think we minus her. There's some chance that we'll be able to cast whatever we find off of her with the mana from Te4ri, so I think that's what makes the difference. Anger of the Gods really good against the Phoenix deck, and I'm just going to Divine Purge this before it gets out of range. Whoops. Uh-oh. I did not see that coming. That's not great. I didn't expect that to exile my own portable hole. Yeah, that's kind of bad. So we're gonna lose just about everything here. Yep, we sure are. So we're definitely going to Anger of the Gods here. Yeah. And I think we're just minusing Narset away. I don't think we can defend her. Archmage's Charm is pretty reasonable. We'll keep that. Obviously, now that it's face up, it doesn't do nearly as much. Sprite Dragon. I think this is fine. And I think I'm just going to draw my cards here because the upside of drawing land to be able to Te4ri plus Portable Hole is really high. Like untapped land, that is. Nice. Please don't Mystical Dispute me. Charm. Yeah. Let's get this dragon off the field. Like, I just don't want them to be able to kill Te4ri. Fading Hope their own Sprite Dragon, but that's kind of fine because it'll come back in tapped. Yeah. Okay, so now what do we do? We lead with a plus on Te4ri, right? Find Divine Purge again. Let's start with Iteration. Lightning Helix seems great. Te4ri seems great. Yeah, so we'll put Lightning Helix to hand, exile Te4ri. And we'll be able to minus the Te4ri on the Sprite Dragon. And it will once again come in tapped, which is pretty gas. So casting the Portable Hole on the Sprite Dragon did not punish us too badly. And now we say go with Lightning Helix and Archmage's Charm up. Stormwing Entity, you say? That's annoying enough that I think I'm just going to counter it. Right. Dodges Divine Purge. It pretty effectively dodges Lightning Helix. We can't just Wrath of God, I suppose. But I think I want to counter this. This one's just annoying enough. Nice. And now we get that sweet, sweet Te4ri 4 feeling where we don't have to do anything at all. I think I still will Expressive Iteration. Expressive Iterationing on our turn is still much better than doing it on theirs, and we win. Cool. Okay, so despite the small misplay, the pretty big misplay, in fact, pretty decent result against, Izzet Phoenix. So Portable Hole seems okay against their pretty quick draws. It does have a bunch of targets in Darcy. It is, as I saw, a bit of a nombo with the Divine Purge. Divine Purge also, like, not super relevant against them because a lot of their best threats against us, like the Crackling Drake, the Phoenix itself, those are 4 CMC spells. So I think I prefer Settle the Wreckage. Obviously, we want the playset of Disputes. Anger of the Gods is outstanding. Cage is pretty good, and the 2 copies of Rest in Peace as well. Te4ri is pretty okay. He's fine against the opponent's own counter magic. Archmage's Charm is fine if slow. On the draw, it's not as good. 4 copies of Te4ri 4 seems like a lot, but 3 copies of Te4ri 4 seems even more ambitious. What else? 4 more cuts. Now that we've brought in the 4 Mystical Disputes, it seems like these are not as important, although as you saw, they were very important for hitting our land drops there. If we hadn't drawn those cards with the Archmage's Charm, then we would have been in a much worse spot. I don't know. Te4ri is not, like, super inspiring here. The only reason he was great last game was because he kept bouncing the Sprite Dragon that came into play tap because of the Divine Purge. So I think I'm actually down cutting both of the Te4ris. And maybe it's just the Archmage's Charms. Like, maybe we're just supposed to... Maybe we're just supposed to kill their stuff, land Te4ri, and go from there. I think this is fine. Okay, reasonable hand on the draw here. Narset, of course, one of our most important cards against them. It is a little slow. Opponent just says go. That's fine with me. I'm just going to get my tap lands out of the way. Okay, so opponent taps out here. If they play Island, then maybe I'll think about jamming Narset, but probably not. No, they play this on red, so we're jamming Narset here 100% of the time. The question is, do we minus her? And in this case, with them off of Delirium by so much, I think the answer is we don't. Let's see. Do they have anything that can target her? No. So we'll just let them go. If they're able to kill Narset from 5, then I'm impressed. If not, then they'll probably do some damage to her and we'll be able to minus her next turn. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Okay. That's pretty confident. So they think they can bring back the Arclight Phoenixes, but at least the Faithless Looting didn't draw them any cards. So it was purely a vehicle to get it in the bin. And that opt can't be cast yet. Another looting. Okay, this is fine. Because now they're going to get the 2 Phoenixes back. But we're going to be able to wrap the board. And I think they're going to have a very difficult time recurring these Phoenixes again. Yeah. So hopefully they're not able to add any pressure to the board, and we'll get to Te4ri. Not quite. Oh, that's really good. Okay, so we'll start, and they're tapped out of blue as well. So we'll start with the expressive iteration. Yeah, all of this seems great. With the Rest in Peace, the anger's not as important, so I think I'm going to take the Lightning Helix to hand. Put the anger back. We'll exile the Foundry, play it tapped, and jam the Rest in Peace. And this is pretty smooth. So we'll be able to, next turn, Te4ri plus, and, okay. Well, now we'll just Wrath of God. Right. Yeah, Wrath of God, hold up Lightning Helix, and then we'll have a clean board next turn to jam Te4ri. And all will be right with the world. And we win. Cool. Pretty convincing. I mean, the opponents definitely helped us a lot that game. We had them screwed on blue, for one thing, and then casting double Faithless Looting into the Narset on our turn, even though they were able to recur the 2 Phoenixes and kill her. That was quite a swing in the game, and they probably should have waited. I mean, it was probably better to just, instead of cast the lootings there, to just try to jam a Phoenix. They were in a tough spot, to be sure, with that Narset, but there's no way that was right. Okay, cool. On to the next one. Okay, on the play against Yorion, so probably up against some sort of blink deck. Our hand is very slow, but on the play, I think we can keep it, given that we have the iteration. We really, really want to draw land, and maybe this is loose. But there's so much random crap in the format that this is not necessarily a blink deck. This could be like an Espery, Dimir-y, Thoughtseize kind of thing. Jund also seems pretty likely to have Thoughtseizes as well. So I don't really like mulliganing against... I don't like mulliganing, period, in this format unless I know exactly what I'm up against. Okay, so this looks like Abzan Yorion. And they're just saying go. So, what's threatening next turn? I don't know. I am definitely casting Iteration here, I think. I was thinking about holding up Archmage's Charm, but that seems like it's definitely going to have a target in Yorion eventually. I'll take another Te4ri, I think. We have enough lands with this that I'm happy to do that. Put back the farmland, play the Triome this turn, your go. I don't know what I'm scared of here. Like, what could they have at instant speed? They had something. This could be like 4-5 color Yorion. There have been piles like that too. No, it just seems like straight Abzan. And they just say go once again. If that's the case, then I think I'm happy to just hold up Archmage's Charm, Lightning Helix. I'm not sure what they're doing. I suppose we could be vulnerable to Collected Company. Opponent also did not buy Yorion last turn, which is interesting. I don't know what they were thinking. I think I have enough cards that I don't want to cast this Archmage's Charm to draw cards. And now we have like the option of jamming Te4ri. If we do that, we're a little naked. I am a little scared. They could jam Nissa, I guess. That's something that we need to worry a little bit about. So probably the play is just hold up Scry with Castle Vantress. Play Te4ri next turn when we'll have the mana untapped to hold up Archmage's Charm for the Nissa. Well, they have blue now, so this is 4 colors. Okay, I'm gonna Scry. And if they want to flash something in here, so be it. That's pretty good, realistically. Yeah, and it's a guaranteed hit off the Narset if I keep the Archmage's Charm there as well. So let's jam this. Jam Narset. And if you counter this, then so be it, I think. But like this 4-color deck is probably not running much in the way of counterspells. Glad we kept that Archmage's Charm on top. Whiffing with that Narset would have been very sad. I have no idea what we're up against, though. Well, there's a ton of cards, that's for sure. We just untap, actually. Those are some good hits. I feel like I definitely want Memory Deluge. Yeah. And I think the plan here is just going to be to ditch the Portable Hole. That seems like our worst card. I don't want to do anything else on my turn. I don't feel a need to rush. Omen of the Sea, okay. I don't really want to cast Memory Deluge while they're tapped low here, even though it would be guaranteed to resolve, because we're going to have to discard to hand size anyway. Blinking the Omen with the Narset in play, of course, is not super helpful to them. They won't draw off of it. The Trickster God's Heist. What in God's name is this? You may exchange control of 2 target creatures. You may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a type. So you can trade my lands? Okay. And then it drains. I am confused, but I'm going to let this resolve. I don't know what... I've never seen this card in my life. But I am fine with this. Purge doesn't do very much against them. Castle seems reasonable. Yeah, I think I'll just take a land. I'll take both lands here. Okay. Now I think I'm comfortable just jamming Te4ri. Now that they're tapped out of blue, we're gonna have counter magic available. I guess this could be like Demonic Pact. Is that the idea here? Like they get Demonic Pact up to the point where it'll lose someone the game, and then they hope I have an enchantment in play, and they try to give it to me with that. I guess. Sure. Well, I guess we're saying go. And I'm going to drop off this Divine Purge. It doesn't seem very good. So I have only Planeswalkers. They have no Planeswalkers. I guess they can trade. Sure. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have played that knowing that this was coming, but I still think this is fine. Definitely supposed to tap this first. Yeah, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have played this into that. Obviously, the green mana not super helpful to us. And then it just helixes us. Yeah, there was no reason to allow this. I should have just played a different land instead. I was thinking that would hold up my own option to make a token. Now this is actually kind of annoying. I don't think it's anything we can't handle, but yeah, that was a mistake. Yasharn. How do we feel about Yasharn? It gets them lands. We don't really sacrifice a lot, but we don't have a great way to kill it right now. I am just going to counter this. Sure. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out what they're doing. Okay, so Trickster God's Heist. I don't know why you would ever play this card if it wasn't part of some combo that immediately won you the game. And so I'm thinking that this is some sort of Demonic Pact list. Is there any other permanent that they would like to give us control of? I guess they could play like Treacherous Blessing. and try to give that to us. And we might have no way to discard it. We don't really have a great way to target it either. I guess we can target it with like... Yeah, I guess we can't really target it. So those are two things they could try to give us that would get them value off Yorion. So it's kind of cute. But this 4-color pile just seems really awkward. Okay, so if that's the case, Divine Purges seem pretty bad. Portable Hole didn't seem very good. Rest in Peace, we've seen no reason to do that. Veto seems reasonable. We didn't see any creatures at all. Except Yorion. Maybe we're supposed to cut Anger. I want the Disputes. Like, whatever they're trying to do, it probably hates counter magic. Which means I'm probably also supposed to bring in the Shark Typhoons. I'll probably trim Wraths and Helixes. They could be a Coco deck. Maybe we want Cage, but I don't want to do that until I see some evidence one way or the other. I'd rather just do this. Do the stuff that I know to be good against them. Okay, let's give this a try. Okay, on the draw, we have a pretty slow hand with no red, but I still think I'm going to keep it. Like, mulliganing aggressively for anything against them seems wrong. Because I don't know what they're doing. I definitely don't want to be slamming the Shark Typhoon, given that I've seen the that saga that exchanges control of enchantments. That's a good draw. I considered chalking this in briefly, but I think my life total might matter because I don't know what I'm up against. Just chalking it in just a bluff, like negate, stroke, something. They have blue here. Archmage's Charm is a timely draw. They, again, didn't take Yorion to hand. So they've got something. Am I just jamming Narset anyway? With the intention of next turn holding up Deluge Charm? If they don't cast anything charmable, then will I feel bad? I don't think so. I think making a 1/1 Shark is good enough for me. And just like, given that they didn't do anything and didn't take Yorion to hand, I think I'm a little concerned. Now I'm worried about like Coco. But I'm definitely cycling this. I didn't see any creatures. Coco doesn't make any sense. I guess another reason to play the Shark there was because we are somewhat low on lands. So I'm happy that we did that. We will end step Deluge if they don't do anything that we have to counter. And obviously drawing double Dispute is pretty good. Even like as a 3-mana mana leak, doesn't seem bad. What are we doing? What is this? Yeah, carefully tapping, leaving up the blue mana for Entomber Exarch. What is this? When it enters the battlefield, return creature from graveyard to your hand, or discard a non-creature spell. Sure. I'll cast this in response. If they want to counter it, then whatever. Our hand is really, really good. Maybe I'm just supposed to counter this. Like, maybe this is just playing with my food. But I don't think they're going to be able to resolve anything for the rest of the game, no matter what they take. And this 2/2 body is just not something I'm remotely scared of. Not sure why you play this instead of playing, like, Acquisitions Expert or Burglar Rat or something like that. Like, this just seems way too expensive. And we haven't seen any real creatures out of them either to recur from the graveyard. So, I don't know. I don't understand this play. This resolves. That's great. can take another counter and a land. That seems decent. I think I just want to take... It's pretty clear they have Dispute, right? So I don't think we're going to be able to slam Te4ri next turn anyway. I just want the counterspell. Like, I'm greedy. We'll see what they take here. But I feel like they can't make good progress against this. And take Te4ri. I don't think I will slam Te4ri. Unholy Heat is fine. We can slam Narset, Dispute next turn. We still haven't found our red mana, which is concerning. Alright, I like this. If they dispute, we'll dispute back, I think. These are all decent, the exception of Wrath of God. I think I want Expressive Iteration the most. Well, we can't cast it, I guess, is the problem. Te4ri doesn't really want to bounce anything. I guess it's Shark Typhoon. May even cycle it on end step. Skyclave Apparition to hit Narset, I suppose. Sure. And I think I really badly do want to hit untapped land here. So I think I will cycle... Whoa. Deafening Silence. Interesting. Sure. I mean, we're pretty good at playing on their turn, so this card is not super good against us. I just want to... Yeah, this is what I want. Although, I suppose, like, now, if we Te4ri into their dispute, then then we can't back it up with our own dispute. So there's some maneuvering to be done here. Yeah. I'm just going to attack, and I think my plan is going to be to Unholy Heat the Skyclave Apparition. By Yorion, and sure. Okay. So Yorion can come down, blink Deafening Silence. We are winning this race. I'm down to do this. And I don't think... Again, I'm not going to cast Te4ri into this. Like, next turn we can cast Te4ri and have the ability to pay for the dispute that we know they have. Glasspool Mimic. No. So, like, Deafening Silence, they can still cast their Yorions and stuff. So if he has, like, land Yorion, then okay. But it will tap them out, and we'll be able to jam Te4ri and have counter magic up. I guess if they flicker this, then they'll be able to take the Te4ri, All right. Felidar Retreat. Sure. Okay. Um, let's jam Te4ri. We can minus on the retreat, I guess, and have Archmage's Charm available. It's gonna be tough, right? Because if this is the Yorion plus counterspell, they'll be able to play Yorion, we counter it, they counter back, and we can't win the counter fight with this Deafening Silence in place. So that's kind of irritating. But I think the way through that is just to get more cards to outvalue this Yorion. Like, they're not getting any value from blinking this anyway. Dovin's Veto is excellent. Okay. That feels much better. So let's just hold this back, I think, to protect Te4ri on the ground. And yeah, I'll play this untapped. They get energy. What is the energy for? Marvel? I don't know. Like, we are off the map here. We know, again, one of these cards is Mystical Dispute. We haven't seen the dispute yet, but they've been playing all game as though they have it. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'll just untap. Hopefully we can draw like a utility land here or something, some mana sink. Lightning Helix seems pretty good to me. I think I'm down to attack here, and if they double block, then we can Lightning Helix, and them having an empty board will be nice. And if they don't double block, then Lightning Helix will protect Te4ri anyway. I don't think it matters much which one of these. If they have like a flicker effect, then they'll want to flicker the thing that we target with Lightning Helix, so I guess we do this. Dispute, we will pay. Another dispute, they would have... Another dispute, they probably would have cast. I don't know what they would have done. I don't know what that last card in their hand is. But I think there's not much difference between 5 mana and 6 here. I guess there kind of is. Like, Archmage's Charm would then play through a Mystical Dispute, which we're pretty... What the hell is this? Moonblessed Cleric. When Moonblessed Cleric enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, and shuffle it. Is this bait? Please don't have the dispute. I played that land tapped, thinking you didn't have dispute. Oh, you do, you do. That's annoying. Okay. Okay. I wonder if that came off the top, that dispute. There wasn't any stick there. Oh, man, that sucks. Now they have Shark Typhoon on top, but at least we have Dovin's Veto available. I thought this went to hand. Oh, this is even a worse card than I thought. Okay. Yeah, Narset seems reasonable here. Um, and now we can veto plus make a token to protect our planeswalkers. So yeah, let's just get in. This trade's fine with me. Okay. All right, so the plan here is going to be to make a shark end of turn. It will be a 6/6. So we do need to come up with an answer for that. We can just go upstairs with this Lightning Helix. Let's start with a plus. As long as we can defend Te4ri, then I don't think anything too bad can happen to us. I'll take an iteration, I think. Sure, that's fine. And we're not attacking with anything, right? Just holding up blockers, protecting Te4ri, winning that way. And if Te4ri ultimates, this game is over, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll just protect Te4ri at all costs. Obviously, veto will be key at stopping just about every possible threat to Te4ri. Especially now that they've drawn this land. Like, any one spell that could kill Te4ri, we can veto, and Yorion won't be able to do it on his own. And then we just get to go off. I would like to hold this as an instant speed kill spell once Te4ri is ultimated. So I would rather not cycle it in this turn. Are we jamming Yorion? Wolf Willow Haven? Okay. And now if you cast Yorion, I can dispute it? That one extra mana was the difference? Oh, we're making a token. You got it. All right, let's just... We have a good plan for next turn. Let's just use our lands. Yeah. Seems pretty good to me. And now we can even exile the Deafening Silence so we can really go off. Yeah, I don't think there's any wrong way to eat this Reese's. You can even steal the 6/6. That's probably the way to go. Yeah. Good luck. Okay, those things are definitely big. Gonna play Yorion. Yeah, Narset can die. This is fine. The important thing is, like, I think we can just have lethal here if we don't allow Yorion to resolve. And I'm pretty sure we have the mana to make that happen. Like, we can double dispute. And because we can exile the Deafening Silence, that'll be possible. So, they are dead. They just don't know it yet. Okay, maybe they do. Okay. Yeah, so pretty convincing win against 4-color Yorion pile o stuff. Obviously not the best test of the deck. There's just a lot of random stuff going on the opponent's side of the board. But we were, we had the answers that we needed. We were pretty flexible. We, I think, played with enough restraint and respect for the opponent's random spice that I don't think we could have got. Yeah, so that was a pretty good game. So on the so I think this video has been going on for a while now. So I think this is where I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys have some suggestions about how many matches you'd like to see in these videos, how long you'd like to see them go, I feel like the YouTube algorithm favors videos around the hour mark, which is kind of what I'm targeting with this. If you have other content that you'd like to see on the YouTube channel, I'm happy to hear about that as well. But yeah, leave that in the comments below. I'm very open to your feedback. Otherwise, like, subscribe, means a lot to me. Join the Discord, the link to that is below as well. And I will see you guys next time. Later.